The advisor to the ICC chief prosecutor is a man named Theodore Meron, 94 years old, Holocaust survivor, former advisor to the Israeli foreign minister. He advised the ICC to ask for arrest warrants, but according to Douglas and Natasha tonight, and many of you, he's an anti-Semite too. Theodore Meron's an anti-Semite.
Everyone's anti-Semitic. Anyone that's objective in the news is anti-Semitic. Everyone's anti-Semitic. These are some of the drinks in my fridge, guys. Just some of them, subhanAllah, that we drink. Along water and many other things. Many fruits to pick from. Many foods to eat from, subhanAllah. What about the people who are starving in Gaza, all around the world, who do not have food to eat? How can we make these drinks, these foods go down our throat, knowing that they're starving? I am working with the One Ummah charity for the food project, guys, and they are a 100% donation policy charity. I know the brothers who run the charity, and I have full trust in them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers and sisters and dear friends. Here is a video of Mehdi Hassan in 5 separate occasions and moments where he absolutely owned and annihilated Douglas Murray, or Gutless Murray, an absolute Islamophobe bigot who is hostile towards Islam to such a level that something that is so transparent in front of him that innocent people being massacred, he absolutely no care. That's what Allah says this in the Quran in Surah Buruj. They were persecuting and killing the believers for no other reason because they say La ilaha illallah. Their hostility and hatred towards us because of our belief in Allah. Here is the first one, inshallah. It was absolutely epic. It seemed to me though, subhanAllah, as if the people who were attending this debate were there planted, because it is impossible them booing the mere facts that Mehdi Hassan was saying. These were facts. Let's watch it for ourselves. Here is the first moment when Douglas Murray got annihilated by Mehdi Hassan.
Sources, but I cannot allow Gideon to get away with what he just said, which was unbelievable lie. He said Israel isn't a democracy. First of all, just I don't know. Maybe have you ever been there?
Yes.
When?
A few years ago, not recently. I don't get awawards from the president of Israel like you do, so I don't get to do softball interviews. I didn't get invited into Gaza.
Let me finish my point.
But you went to Gaza, right? You said you went to Gaza. How come you went to Gaza when the world's media is not allowed into Gaza?
There's 2 reasons.
But they took you into Gaza.
Well, first of all, I'll explain, but let me pick up my point since you keep trying to...
So there you go. The first moment he absolutely got on by Mehdi Hassan. You saw it for yourself, subhanAllah, brothers and sisters, that he can easily go in and out. That's why. So, you know. So what does Gutless Murray resort to? Calling him, naming him stuff, calling him names, Hamas supporter. Can you imagine Hamas supporter for stating mere facts? And here is the reaction of Mehdi Hassan to that.
Choice at the end of the
day. But let me just deal with a few things that Douglas said, because there were a few things were said. I mean, it's amusing. I wasn't surprised at all. I came to debate in Toronto to debate Israel with two defenders of the current government, and so far Gideon and I, correct me if I'm wrong, we could have done a long list of your apologists for genocide and war crimes and crimes against humanity. We didn't do that, but we've been called liars and Hamas supporters, and I get it. Neither of us talked about Hamas. We don't support Hamas. This is not a debate about Hamas. I know Douglas wants to redefine it as a debate about Hamas. Great, good for him, because he can't actually deal with the arguments we're putting forward. All the Jews who are putting forward these arguments, they're all anti-Semites, remember. I just want to deal with one point very important here. Douglas is the great journalist in Israel. I love this. Cosplaying as a journalist, going into Gaza with the IDF. Douglas interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu in January. Douglas did not, you're very bothered by Qatar and funding Hamas.
They're your bosses.
But, well, we're talking about bosses, let's talk to this.
You're literally paid by them.
I've interviewed Qatari officials. You could go on YouTube and watch my interviews with Qatari officials. And then you could watch Douglas interview Benjamin Netanyahu, where he asked him pearls like, is there another chapter left in the Netanyahu biography? That was the strong question for that. He didn't ask Benjamin Netanyahu, why did you work with Qatar to fund Hamas all those years? Why did you prop up Hamas all those years? Why, according to today's Israeli media, did you have reports that there was going to be an attack on your citizens and completely allow that to happen? Douglas didn't ask any of those questions. Instead, he'd like to spray around Hamas at the Muslim on the stage. Douglas referred to Hamza Yusuf, the First Minister of Scotland recently, as the First Minister of Gaza. Muslim guy, and he said, quote, you said, quote, he has infiltrated our system. Given we're at a debate about anti-Semitism, I find it ironic that you are throwing out some of the most bigoted dual loyalty tropes known to man, referring to a born...
So you can see clearly that Gutless Murray is somebody who's an absolute Islamophobe bigot. For him to call that to Hamza, the Prime Minister in Scotland, you can see that he has a clear hatred. He doesn't believe in democracy. In no way, shape, or form, do you really believe Gutless Murray would be okay if the majority of the votes were by Muslims, 51, 52%, and we wanted the Sharia to run the UK, like wanted to the Sharia law to be the law of the land? No, they don't believe in democracy. It's a big fat lie. Here is the next clip where he gets owned.
Very briefly, because I've got a question for Douglas, very briefly.
I'll be as brief as everyone else. The propositions that I've sprayed around the word lie and liar, so let's return the compliment. Natasha lied when she talked about UNRWA and terrorism. The UN set up an independent inquiry, asked the Israelis for evidence. I know you don't want to hear this. They asked the Israelis, she's parroting propaganda from the Israeli government. The Israeli government was...
Just 1 second. They are booing him for stating a mere fact. He's stating a fact and he's getting booed. That crowd was planted. I don't care what anybody says.
The Israeli government was asked to give evidence. They refused to give their evidence. Every Western government, including your own, Canada's, has restarted funding because they looked at the evidence and didn't see it. That's great. I get it. But as Douglas might have once said, facts don't care about your feelings. To come back to the other point of light, Douglas says the war would end if Hamas gave back the hostages. Complete lie. The Israelis have said, even if the hostages come back, we carry on the war. In fact, I interviewed Avraham Munter's nephew. Avraham Munter's a 79-year-old Israeli hostage right now. Poor guy, tragic. 79-year-old in captivity, should be freed, of course, had to have his birthday in captivity. His nephew says that every time he goes on the streets, Ben Gvir's police beat him. They beat him and arrest him. They're arresting hostage family members. And they're coming on TV and saying, why are we being used as props by people who support the war? He doesn't support the war. He wants a deal. Israeli family members are going on the streets and being tear gassed and water cannon, whatever, beaten by the police because they want a deal and they want an end to the war that Douglas and Zasha so proudly support. They keep telling us about the horrors of October the 7th. I agree. This side shares the revulsion against the horrors of October the 7th, but we also share revulsion against the horrors that came since October the 7th. We don't support those horrors. I'm opposed to the war crimes that happened on October the 7th and the war crimes that have happened since October the 7th. Douglas, no, I've got to finish this point. Douglas, the week after October the 7th, came out in The Spectator and advocated for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, which is a crime against humanity under the Rome Statute. He said now is a...
Not true.
You said now is a good time to do it.
Everyone can read the piece other than Mehdi.
There you go. He was outright calling that for a ethnic cleansing, and now he's, oh no, I didn't mean it like this, etc. You can see the hatred in his eyes for someone to defend such an apartheid regime that is causing massacre and absolute ethnic cleansing genocide. You can clearly see if he had the powers himself, he'd be doing exactly what those scum dirtbag IDF soldiers that are getting liquefied, which makes me sleep at night better, one by one. He would be doing exactly the same thing. So now Douglas Murray has a meltdown. Why? Because all those Jewish protesters, all those Jewish students and non-Jewish students who are at the campuses, here's what he had to say about them. This is the reason why they are doing what they're doing. You know, they're Jewish, but they're self-hating Jews. They're anti-Semitic Jews.
Implant or try to implant over the world's most complex region. And they think in doing so that they're being good guys. And what they don't realize is that if they got what they wanted, they'd have finished the work of Adolf Hitler.
Because I know it's something you thought a lot about too.
Douglas earlier was telling us all about the importance of journalism going on the ground. While Douglas was getting awards from the President of Israel, we were actually reporting my news organization, Zateo, from those campuses with Jewish students. In fact, the most read piece on our site is from a student called Jonathan Ben Menachem, who is at Columbia and reported from inside the encampment where they were having a Seder, where he was protesting war crimes in Gaza, which I know the other side thinks there are no war crimes, everything we just imagined the last 8 months. What you have to tackle tonight, I'm glad we brought up college campuses, because again, if this ridiculous sweeping motion, Douglas says complexity, we are the side of complexity, we're not the ones saying anti-Zionism across the board is anti-Semitism, you have to deal with the fact that college protests are disproportionate. There are a disproportionate number of Jews in these protests. They're all brainwashed, they're all idiots, they're all self-haters. Some of the top academics at Columbia University who are Jewish have come out to defend the protests. Annalise Orlek is a 65-year-old former chair of Jewish studies at Dartmouth. She was beaten on camera by police while she was protesting against the war in Gaza. Apparently Douglas, an atheist, says that she's an anti-Semite. That's the debate, that's what we've got to tonight, where the former chair of Jewish studies at Dartmouth is an anti-Semite, while Douglas is the champion of the Jewish people. I find it bizarre, and I'm glad we brought up college protests, because it's the #1 evidence right now in our discourse that actually a lot of young Jewish people, and by the way, this whole argument, why didn't you protest Sudan, why didn't you protest Syria? Last time I checked, the United States Congress does not fund Bashar al-Assad or the RSF militias in Sudan. So stop with this lazy whataboutism that gives you...
They do fund your friends in Tehran.
The US Congress funds Tehran.
And now, last but not least, Douglas Murray comes with the accusation that America is actually funding or supporting Iran. You can't make this stuff up. He's lost the plot. Here's the last moment.
Tehran.
You know very well Biden's package for Tehran.
What?
You don't know about it?
US funds Iran. Okay, you got me there, Douglas.
Wow.
By the way, since
Biden decided to bring Iran back into JCPOA, they are no longer under the sanctions that they were and have been brought back into the fold. Ergo, they end up with international funding.
America is funding Iran like it funds Israel. This is absurd. By the way, just on fact checks, Natasha gave us a lecture about she's a lawyer on stage. That's true, you are the lawyer on stage. But literally, the chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court has asked for arrest warrants. And you're booing again. I know you don't like it, but by the way, the advisor to the ICC chief prosecutor is a man named Theodore Meron, 94 years old, Holocaust survivor, former advisor to the Israeli foreign minister. He advised the ICC to ask for arrest warrants, but according to Douglas and Natasha tonight, and many of you, he's an anti-Semite too. Theodore Meron's an anti-Semite. Let's just keep the list.
You can't make this stuff up, guys, yeah? A previous Holocaust survivor advised the judges to go ahead and give the arrest warrants. He is an anti-Semite. Everyone's anti-Semitic. Anyone that's objective in the news is anti-Semitic. Everyone's anti-Semitic. It's like a badge of honor now. It's like people are carrying it. It's unbelievable. They have used the word so much that they are actually doing a disservice to actual to anti-Semitism. Zionism will end. That was the 5 key amazing moments. Mehdi Hasan absolutely annihilated Douglas Murray. And on my next video, I'm going to be talking about Jordan Peterson, the absolute scum, dirtbag, intellectual fraud who is attacking Mehdi Hasan. For what? That's all I have to say, brothers and sisters. May Allah bless you guys. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid brother Mehdi Hasan against talking against oppression against these individuals. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and guide him and all of us, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.